Welcome to the Dear Doc podcast, where we will discuss the business of running a dental practice with a panel of experts. Now, your host, Dr. Christopher Hoffpower.
Hey folks, thank you for joining us on a Sunday. I am here with Jackson Hildebrand, and he is the CFO of MB2. And I reached out to him because I was trying to fill out this EIDL thing, and I still was a little bit confused about exactly what I needed to do and which paperwork I needed to fill out. And he was just super helpful. And so I begged him if he wouldn't mind to please come on and help you guys out as well. So I just want to real quick give him some thanks for being here on a Sunday and helping us all out with this. If you have any questions, by the way, go ahead and drop them in the comments. I'll try to get to them. But Jackson, tell us a little bit about your past, why you're qualified to do this, and why I reached out to you specifically.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on. Yet another riveting topic for the CPAs to talk about when it comes to filling out
you guys are
economic relief. Yeah, for not fun reasons. But my background is all in finance and accounting. I worked in public accounting for a number of years, and then most recently in private equity. But I joined Dr. V and team about 2.5 years ago with MB2, and so we're all encountering this together. And so the last 2 weeks, I'm sure, have been loads of fun for all those involved. So we kind of just watch the unknown. But over the last 48, 72 hours or so, a lot of collaboration, so many things that we're waiting on answers for, and I feel like we're getting close. The bill passing on Friday was huge, but in the next 15 days or so, I think we'll continue to know more.
Absolutely. And I want to be very, very pointed about this. This is not a commercial for MB2 or anything like that. They didn't ask to be brought on. I actually begged him to come on because I see so much contradicting information, and I'm really trying to get you guys the best information possible. So, Jackson, you've been working on the EIDL right now and also the 7A, although we're not going to cover that today, for the last how many hours straight?
Yeah, I mean, it's been 2 or 3 days straight, and the EIDL and the 7A are both topics that, while are completely different applications, will start to collide here, I think, in the next week.
Right. There should be a joint application coming out, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly.
I think I read something about that.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Exactly.
Okay. So I'm going to try to be a good host. I'm going to shut the hell up. All yours, man. Talk to us about what we need to gather, what information.
So in regards to the EIDL, it's very straightforward on the SBA site. You can hop onto the link. It'll walk you through the forms that you need. I think what's important to distinguish between the EIDL and the 7A is the expediency of the first $10,000. So once you go through these forms, I think it'll be a little more extensive on the paperwork in regards to the EIDL versus what you'll see in the 7A. No one knows yet. And then the online access for the EIDL is also a difference. I think you'll probably have to be ultimately working directly with lenders when we get into the 7A piece. But what I've done is I've pulled the forms down. I've got the links ready to go. And so okay. I don't know if it's best maybe to share screen and just start.
Absolutely. I was going to ask about that. And real quick, did you go to benefits.gov or did you go to disasterloan.sba.gov? Because there's really two ways you can get to the portal.
Yeah, I went through the SBA side.
Okay, fantastic. Good. And I am going to go ahead and let you share your screen here. If you'll go down all the way to the bottom, there's a green rectangle. And you'll just click that. And
you want me to share my entire screen? Is that most helpful?
Yeah,
let me know and see what I got.
Perfect, man.
Okay.
Oh, hey,
Awesome.
Look, you might want to close that side over there. No, I'm just messing with you, Jackson.
I was like, oh no, what am I showing? Okay, so I've got these forms. I've got them zipped together. I'm happy to share those. These are the 4 that we'll walk through.
Those are all on the website at that address at disasterloans.sba.com. Or .gov, right?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic.
Yep. All four you can download. I would recommend downloading them so that when you fill them out, you can save them, not lose your work. The second page here is just a Word doc of just our ongoing compiling of all the information that you would need.
Okay.
Again, happy to share this information too. This is everything we're talking through right now are just pieces and bits of information that I think in this crisis, you found so many people are willing to collaborate. There's so many resources out there. Yes, there's some conflicting information, but there's a lot of legal teams and financial advisors that have got some really good stuff out there. So you should reach out to your own as well, because don't limit it to what I'm talking about today. But these really get to the point. So this top section tells about what it is and what the impact is, whether you apply, after you apply, and whether you're approved. And then this section here is what we're going to start with. So this how to apply. You have SBA site, and then these next three actually navigate you through the links. But I'm going to start with this first one. So SBA.gov, as I mentioned, is where I started. Brings you to this link. And then to no surprise, right here at the top header, will take you to the next. You hit learn more. Once you're in the learn more section, you're going to see just different descriptions, and we can talk at the end here about this express bridge loan piece, which I think is also unique, and I think if you're not careful to read the fine print, you may miss some stuff. But
absolutely, that one cannot be rolled into the 7A. The EIDL can, but the other one, the bridge loan, the SBA bridge loan cannot. Is that correct?
It's a $25,000 bridge loan, and keep in mind the bridge loan is really it's all about how quick you get the cash. And so I think if you're sitting there as a practitioner, sole proprietor in your company, and you're thinking, man, my cash is so low, I'm freaking out. Those are the ones you really want to look at closer.
Okay.
So I'll hit this link. That's Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, which is this number 3 here, which I'm happy to share. Once you get here, there's a blurb about the bridge loans, right there in the middle of the page. But I'm going to continue to go straight to where I want to get to applying. So you have your SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan, or affectionately the EIDL. You have your disaster assistance blurb pop up here, and I'm going to hit apply for assistance. Okay, you're still hitting hitting some links here. I'm going to hit economic disaster loans, takes you right here, just down to this first section that you see. And then I'm going to say to apply, click here, and we're finally there. So it's a lot of links. It's not as straightforward as it may seem, but it really, you get to this page, you're in the right spot.
And if you get frustrated, come back and watch this video. Let me tell you guys, there is a circle. If you click the right links in the right order, it will continue to bring you in a circle. Ask me how I know. Which is why I call Jackson. So anyway, go on, man.
So this gives you the description about what the EIDL is. The most important piece of it is a quick $10,000. It is, and that's in the form of a grant, but it gets you comfortable fast with that cash. You continue to read through a handful of other items that, even in the event you do not get approved, the grant still can and should apply. You can see the rates, 30 years, 3.75, still low interest loans, which are advantageous. You can't get capital like that. The EIDL and the 7A are not mutually exclusive. So, keep that in mind. When you're applying for one, it's not as the other. You can start to concurrently apply if you have the time to do so and the cash in the bank.
No,
and then finally, go ahead, Chris.
I have a question about the EIDL. So in my research, I found that the EIDL in general will pay you up to $1 million. It's up to $1 million loan. Now, what we're hearing right now is because that first $10,000 is going to become a grant, you can still apply for $500,000 or $1 million under the EIDL, but the first $10,000 of it will be a grant and will come to you within 3 days of your application being processed. And whenever you do have the ability to apply for the 7A, you will roll the EIDL into the 7A so that it can be forgiven, but only up to the amount the 7A can cover. And so if you take out too much with the EIDL, I believe that the EIDL allows you to take out more than the 7A. Did I read that wrong? Or is the 7A big enough to take the EIDL no matter how much?
Yeah, I mean, these are all great points. Your 7A has a very explicit calculation as it stands today. It's the 2.5 times your average gross pay. for the last trailing 12 months, including your benefits. And so contingent on how much your idle loan is, yes, you are limited on the forgiveness side and what you're able to roll into the 7A. So really good points.
I didn't want anybody to get caught in that and take out more than they're going to be able to be forgiven if they bring back their employees. So thank you, Jackson.
Yeah, these are all important. So those are a handful of the fast facts. The idle does have finite resources. In this crisis mode, you cannot speak for the federal government here, but it never hurts to get these applications in. If they run out of money, I can't help but think there's more to come. I mean, they've finally got this 3.0 passed. There will be a 4.0, but don't think, oh, I'm 2 days too late. Get your application in,
right.
And let's see what happens.
And I'm hearing that same thing from the lobbyists as well. Even if you think there's no more money left in the safe box, so to speak, keep applying because there is more coming, or we're pretty certain there is.
Yeah. So I'm going to go right back to the actual place where you start to apply, and I'll scroll all the way down to the bottom first and show you at the end of all this drag and drop is where it's pretty straightforward. You take your downloaded PDFs, which are the applications, you drop them in this box, and you click apply. Me as the finance guy, this is about as far as I get. You as the dentist will be able to hit apply and let me know if you have any sort of issues, and then we can sort of talk through what sort of complications go from there. Because I don't know what the time frame looks like beyond that, for the full loan and the actual review. But as you can appreciate, I mean, how many, the influx is just going to be crazy in regards to how many have already been received and how many continue to be uploaded.
Well, we've been doing a really great job in dentistry of making sure that we're getting applications and making sure we have all of this information out. Because remember, the other small businesses that this is made for, they simply don't have this kind of a support network. So thank you again for helping us with this to make sure that we can get the funds we need to continue business. Because I think dentistry, honestly, is one of the hardest hit professions out there, simply because of the fact that they've basically taken away everything we do until this emergency is over.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's well put. I mean, when you think about from all of the emergency only procedures, I mean, you've really taken away the product of dental, right? And we're sitting here without a known date of coming back. It's scary times, and I really do hope this is helpful into bringing some relief to those that certainly need it. So step one, you download these forms. The form 5 is the first one to start with. I'll pull up form 5 here, and I'm just going to double click here. What I talked with Doc about, in regards to looking at these forms, I mean, the number of fields in here, are fairly straightforward, names, EINs, and whatnot. But I said, let me scan through and see like what just doesn't, make sense, what's not as intuitive. But you start with one and you go through what you're actually applying for. So, of course, you're going for the item. I'm not going to fill in these forms, but if applies, you guys know what to do. Organization, most in the state of Texas, which I speak to the most. We cover 13 states at MB2, but tend to be the professional limited liability companies, treated as S corps. You should know what you are, but I'd say that's probably where you land versus being a corporation. So more than likely partnership. You go through your applicant's legal names, your EINs, which is your tax ID, your DBA, do business as, trade names. It's all in here. Things you've probably filled out a million times over that you'd like to have forgotten after you filled out the forms. Well, they're back. So mailing addresses, everything in this page seems to be pretty straightforward.
Jackson, on section number 2, there is one thing I wanted you to bring to light. There are very few people, and I know, that operate as a DBA only. But if you are a DBA only, there is an additional form to fill out. Is that correct?
That's a good question. I'm not really too familiar. We don't have any DBA onlys across, across the practices. But surely here's the point on that, or the way I can answer it, is if you fill out these forms, there's going to be 4 of them, and there's 2 that you're going to fill out, one personally and one as your practice, like as the managing member of your practice. But in the event there's more information needed, they will ask. You're not going to fill these applications out and somebody's going to find a nuance on the other side and go, well, this is going away. They will come back and ask you to clarify.
So Jackson, we have a few questions here. Let me see here. What if you have a separate entity with a different EIN for real estate? Should we apply for those loans a second time? I'm thinking you could if it's a different EIN, but obviously that would be 2 separate forms. Jackson, correct me if I'm wrong on these. I'll just answer them.
I understand you have to. Sorry, Doc. I think you have to. For each EIN. I don't think there's an option. And when you think about it, you're completely addressing your real estate side, and then you're addressing your operations side in each of those
exactly. So 2 separate applications, guys. So do you need to send in the form 4506T at this time?
Yes, we'll get to that, but yes, and that's more of a tax request form, correct?
Excellent. Now, Mauricio said, this guy was the student body president of TAMU. He knows what's up.
I love Mauricio, and thanks a lot, buddy.
So, and we have, is the applicant's legal name the business name? Whatever your legal business name is it? Like, for instance, my PLC is Christopher S. Huffpower, DDS, PLLC. That's the legal name. The DBA is Winning Smiles Family Dentistry. So it depends on how you incorporated that, what that legal name is, because when you create an entity, it's a person, kind of. Does that make sense? Cool. And one other person says they don't believe that the EIDL is able to be forgiven. That is incorrect. When the PPP or the 7A comes out, you will be allowed to roll the EIDL into it, and the EIDL will take up a portion of what you could have, that 2.5 times operating cost, whatever it was, what you could have taken that loan out for. The 7A is the forgivable portion, but only if you bring back 100% of your employees. I hope that answers that question. Sorry about that, Jackson. There were a bunch of them piling up.
Yeah, keep them coming. In regards to your key point of contacts, number of employees, business activity, I mean, these again, you should be able to get through this form really quick. Keep in mind, the next few forms are the ones that are going to be a little more burdensome in the EIDL versus what I think you'll see in the 7A.
Right.
Let me scroll through. It's really the first 2 pages are actual forms. There's your owner information, the percentage. These all are your state documents that you filled out day one, as you mentioned, the name of the entity and the doing business as. All should be fairly easy to fill out on here. I'm going to keep scrolling down and just show you guys. Once you get to this point, you're free, right? So after page 2, you should be done with this first Form 5. Any other key points that you want to cover there, Doc, on the Form 5?
No, I think you've got that one. There is one person who's asking, I believe I know the answer, and I answered them, but let's see if I'm correct. I am a sole proprietor. Do I only have to fill out the 5C? I believe that's a no. It's in addition to this one, because there's a checkbox that says, are you a sole proprietor? And then you have to fill out the 5C in addition. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
That's what we understand that. Mm-hmm.
I've been doing a couple of interviews, man. I almost know what I'm talking about now.
I'm sure you've been inundated with all this as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, the 4506T, request for transcript to tax return, is exactly what that is.
Okay.
Easy fields to fill out, and it actually brings your tax returns together. I think it's just 18, given that 19 would not be done for so many of us. And in the event you need 17 as well, it's very simple to obtain. But this form should take all of 5 minutes. You put in your Social Security numbers, it's all your own personal information, and then potentially the one thing I will say here is you potentially have to do both personal and your entities here.
Okay. Someone is asking, can you cover item number 15?
On the Form 5?
I believe so.
Okay. Yeah, at this point, this is so talking to the 7A real quick. There's a very explicit calculation. It's very straightforward as to what it is and what it isn't. This one is where I'm a little more novice level in regards to how large the loan is going to be. But I mean, you're talking about business interruption here, right? And so you're going to have to be able to quantify the operation loss in regards to your to your specific practice. Number 15, I would put in my thoughts would be a question mark, because right here we haven't, it's not like a flood or something, something terrible like Hurricane Harvey, where you had some damage to buildings, inventory, and leasehold improvements. So I would keep this at a question mark. In other areas, you're going to want to talk about operational disruption and losses, of course, due to not having the ability to perform dental.
Okay, let me see here. All right, David Jump asks, when on Form 5, what is a PLLC filing as an S-Corp on Section 2? Well, that's an election of an S-Corp as a PLLC, if I'm not mistaken. You can elect, I believe it's once a year, as either an S or a C-Corp for different tax treatments. Is that
That's
relatively
exactly right.
correct? Okay.
Yep, that's exactly right.
All right, cool. Go ahead.
All right.
Schedule of liabilities 2202 for personal and business liabilities.
This form right here.
Okay, there we go, guys. Hey, what a segue, huh? All right.
This one is going to be unique to every one of the practices. You're listing out your creditors. This is, from the reviewer standpoint, outside of seeing what your disruption is, which is obvious, right? Everybody knows. Real quick, why we're applying for these EIDL and 7A loans. But this is where they're really starting to get down further into, okay, we want to give you this loan. We want to be helpful. We need to know, what your assets are and who you owe, right? And so it's said differently if you have, a large debt payment coming up, if you owe your suppliers, for equipment loans and whatnot. This is that area where you're wanting to sort of document, and it'll help, make the case for, hey, I've got certain things coming due that I need to keep current in regards to when the doors open to my practice. These things cannot be past due, where somebody's going to be knocking on my door asking for these payments. So your loan proceeds or like any sort of amounts approved in this process, will go obviously to keep these current, and you can't just say, great, I got $10,000, and move on. No, like these are the types of things they fully expect you to keep current in the event they approve you for these loans.
Okay, fantastic. VHO has a question. She says, for the Section 6, do we need to fill out what tax form we need or leave it blank?
Let's see. Something going back to.
And I'm sorry about that. There's questions kind of come in.
Yep.
Mel.
It's going to. I think it's going to be both. I would start with your personal.
Okay.
I reached out to my brother, happens to be our tax guy, and so he anticipates it's going to be both.
Wait a minute. The CPA has a tax guy?
Always.
All right, Jack.
Can't cover it all.
We got another question here. It says, which boxes should be checked with a question mark in number 1? I have no idea what form she's talking about. Michelle Ranta, if you wouldn't mind posting again and just saying which form you're looking at. All right, schedule liabilities form is only for business liabilities or personal as well. I believe that's for both. Is that correct? Schedule liabilities, business and personal.
So this 202 is your schedule liabilities. I don't know. Oh, maybe on left to right.
Maybe he said, is it business or personal?
I would expect this to be business, actually.
Okay, because they're asking to include personal and business liabilities like mortgage on the schedule. So guys, business only for that one.
Yep, I would expect this to be business. And again, guys, when you complete this application, as you can tell, it's not intuitive, for somebody I think who's lived and breathed this for the last 3 days and trying to research these forms. So those questions, they will not trash your application.
And Jackson, thank you so much for jumping back and forth on this. We have another question about Form 5. Michelle Ranta, Dr. Ranta wants to know which boxes should be checked with a question mark in number 1. I don't have the form in front of me, so I don't really know what she's talking about there.
Yep. And so I've got number 1. It says, "Are you applying for?" And all you need to check there is the EIDL box. Economic injury is the 4th box there. If you scroll through and you look at the ones where it says, "If you don't know, have a question mark for," that's really in the amount of estimated loss in box 15. The rest is factual information that you should have. Number of employees, management sense, items like that.
All right. Check box 15 with a question mark for estimated loss on Form 5. Good. That way they won't keep asking that one question. We can just tell them that it's already up there. All right. What's next? I apologize. I feel like this is kind of all over the place, man, but you're doing a great job.
No, I mean, just keep in mind, guys, it's 4 forms. You fill them out the best you can, the best of your ability, and we're going to drop them into the application box and be done. And then, again, what I'll lean on you, Doc, is just to better understand, what the return requests are. But, I imagine they're going to vary owner to owner. Last form, and it's the personal financials form. So this is filling out your assets and liabilities, again, to the best of your ability, but these are personal, right? So they want to make sure that you're not sitting on a pile of cash and asking for a loan. Is probably what I would say they're most looking at here. If you don't have the knowledge on how to fill this out, I would imagine, whether it's your CPA, your financial advisor, more than likely has this for you. A lot of this, even me personally, probably only have applicable sections, in cash, very minimal stock. You have a house with a mortgage, things like that. So don't feel like you need to, have a dollar value for a lot of these. It could be 0, and that's fine. But they're really just trying to limit those that, that have a lot of assets that really don't need this EIDL loan. These are for those who are in need.
Dr. English, Jenny, from my understanding from my interview yesterday, a line of credit will not affect your ability to apply and get either an EIDL or a 7A. So that should answer your question. Is that it? I think we just have questions now. Have we filled?
Yeah,
the 4506T, number 6 and number 9. Can you review these sections, please?
Okay, so number 6, transcript requested, enter the tax form number here, likely your 1040. So for the personal side, it's going to be your 1040. Number 9, okay, years requested. Go ahead and do 2 years. Like, this is where I don't know that they may just need 2018. 2019 shouldn't. I don't think that should be one of the requests, given that a lot of people would not be done. But go ahead and put 2 years in there.
Okay. And let's see here. What forms are we supposed to submit? Jennifer, if you go back and watch from the beginning, we actually listed all the forms and where you can get them. And we will actually be receiving an email from Jackson, and I will post what he says on the email with this wonderful sheet that he's made up for us. And thank you, by the way, for that. And it should dispel a little bit of the confusion.
Yep. So that's it. And I've got the zip files, Doc, that I'll send your way, and you can circulate those. These are taken straight from the website. And then going back to what you do once you have completed forms, drag and drop. Right here, and then you're going to click apply, and then again, you have a little bit of a waiting game, but I do anticipate the initial 10,000 should be something that would be something you hear back from pretty quick.
Fantastic. Okay, so Jackson, any other CPA advice you want to give, or anything like that you want to talk about during these times? I know you probably know far more about dentistry than you ever wanted to know whenever you decided to go to school to become a CPA. So
yeah, had no clue this was it. This was in my career path, but it's, I still call myself a dental dummy. I've learned a heck of a lot even in the last 3 days as we've all kind of encountered this crisis together. But what I would also, in addition to the 7A, in addition to the EIDL, and those are specific to loans that that people should be considering and applying for. Where possible. Don't forget about the other things that you should be doing as an individual. I'm not dumb to the fact that this has impacted so many people already at the office level, and so just making sure that your staff also are aware of the unemployment opportunities, of the tax credits that came due on Friday, and so please be sure that you're circulating that. I don't think don't assume that any of those folks know exactly what the step-by-step process either. So there's so many things around the student debt treatment that you should be looking into. The best piece of advice I could give during this time is to extend your cash in any way possible. I think everybody's taken that approach, is trying to keep as much close to vest, and there's really good people out there that are making that possible. So first and foremost, unemployment, as you know, that's those wages have been increased through July, I believe, to $600 more a week. That's really impactful. And then on the tax credit front, up to $75,000 income should have a $1,200, and then head of household or filing jointly should get $2,400 immediate tax credits, and those are big in this time. So
those are
for the first couple of weeks of April,
credits are good. Okay, guys. So real quick, Jackson, someone asked a question about Form 413D. Can you cover that real quick? And I've got a few more, and then I'll let you do a recap, and then maybe we can talk a little bit about that bridge loan and the benefits and detriments of getting that.
Okay, Form 13D. I only have the Form 413. Let me see if this is in fact D, because this is the personal. So I only have the PFS one. I'm assuming somebody's talking about a form as it relates to the financials of a business. Apologies, Doc. Let me take a look at it and come back to you on that one.
Fantastic. Sonia, the answer to your question is, if you're an owner and you're an employee, then yes. But if you're if you're an LLC or PLLC, S Corp, C Corp, then you're an employee. Yes, you can file for employment. If, however, you're a sole proprietorship and you don't have any of the legal protections of an LLC, no, you cannot.
Hey, Doc, real quick, sorry to interrupt. The 13D is that same PFS form. So just when you go through top to bottom, when you fill it out, you put your name, your home address, contact information, your business name, and applicant as a borrower. On the left side, you're going to do your assets. On the right side, you're going to do your liabilities. So left side, you're going to put your cash in the bank, your savings accounts, 401k, stocks that you would own, real estate that you own outright, cars. I mean, they're asking for it all. So you want to quantify that. You're going to put your source of income. You're going to put salary, investment income, real estate income. And then going back to the liability side, you're going to put accounts payable, your notes payable. So who you owe and what your current bills look like, whether it's, mortgage, your suppliers, labs and whatnot. Your notes to the bank. So your practice loans, you're going to fill that out in addition to your auto loans, life insurance, unpaid taxes. It's pretty straightforward on that side. Again, you're going to have zeros for a lot of these, but fill out the best way you can. And then you're going to take your assets less your liabilities to get your total net worth. And that's how they're probably going to be looking at viability for whether you get approved for this EIDL loan.
Okay, fantastic. So Jackson, we have a few more questions to run through. The first one is, someone asked, do I need to send them my tax returns for the last 2 years, or do I just need to state it?
You're going to the form, let's see, it's 4506 or 4506 is them obtaining your tax returns.
Okay, so you don't have to send them yourself, or are they going to look? Are they going to get that from the IRS, or do you need to send them yourself? Is the question.
That request allows them to obtain it. And I'll come back to you if I'm wrong on that. I'll confirm, but that's what the form does.
Okay. What if we just purchased a practice and opened a new corp in January 2020, so we won't have estimates of the past year? They have just made, I believe last night or the night before, they made an allowance for new practices and new businesses that opened in January of this year. Previously, it asked for 1 year of business before January, so they'd asked for the business records from then, but they have made an allowance for anyone who opened in January. If you opened in February, you're shit out of luck, folks. Sorry about that. All right, so unless, of course, you have some new news that I don't have. Is that what you know too? Right. Okay, cool. Let me see here. Someone says, does this include Form 4506T and 413D? We did cover that. Jennifer, if you go back and you watch, those two are covered, and when you fill those out are covered. Even if we're denied, we still get the 10K, correct? Yes, that $10,000 will still be a grant no matter what. Can we apply for the $10,000 by itself? Yes and no. What you do is you apply for the loan. You don't fill out an amount when you apply for the EIDL. They send you $10,000, and then they send you another form that says, hey, we need to know how much you want. You just say $10,000. Then that first $10,000 of the grant is converted into a grant rather than a loan, and you have a loan for nothing. So yes, you can do that, but you do have to fill out the second sheet saying you don't want any money. Let me see here. Anything else? Any rules about affiliation or any information about affiliation rules? That question's come up 3 times now. I don't know what they mean, but do you?
Yeah, I mean, that's where I would seek just some legal counsel on the affiliation and defining of it. That's where you're going to find so many answers on it, but somebody more on the legal front will have to answer that. That's where me as the financial nerd, I like to not have to be the ones addressing those questions.
Fantastic. Now, this is a question I get a lot, and it's because, and please don't laugh, but I know what it is because I come from a retail background, but most dentists don't know what cost of goods sold is. So if you wouldn't mind, can you kind of just go over what cost of goods sold is and tell them how to figure it out?
Yeah, sure. Cost of goods sold is the best way to explain it is what sort of cash outlay is required to perform dental. And so your revenues are obviously your patient income, and then what you're going to get to a gross profit, you're going to want to determine what it costs to actually do that dental service. So versus payroll, you have the doctor, and then you have your staff. The entire staff that was there to keep the doors open and have the patients come through and provide that service. The second is the big one is supplies. So obviously, when you're providing dental services, it's going to come with a supply spent.
Sorry about that, Jackson. I forgot that if I click on the live, it goes to watching the live. Sorry about that.
Okay. No worries. So I was saying you got your payroll, and after your payroll, you have your supplies, another large line item within your cost of goods sold, and then you have your labs. So those 3 items make up your cost of goods sold. Merchant fees is lumped in with that, and that's really your banking and sort of third-party financing charges. But your patient revenues, your top line, cash in the door, less those 3 items get you a gross profit, and then that's really what you're talking about when you think of cost of goods sold. And then you've got all your operating expenses beyond that to get to net income.
All right, guys. And I know that's not something you guys are used to figuring out, but it is, believe it or not, how the rest of the world works. It's just something that kind of bypass dentistry. And it's honestly a very difficult thing to do because, taking out the amount in a carpule of composite that you use for class 2 filling is kind of hard. All right, guys, let's see here. It says that the loan officer may ask for additional documents and list them. Should we get those together now? I would say give them the least amount of information you possibly have to. Jackson, am I wrong headed there?
Just follow the letter of the request. I mean, don't try to over provide because then it'll create more questions. So you're exactly right. Just give them what they ask for, and certainly they'll come and ask for additional information if need be.
And on Form 413D, are we including our practice on our asset side? If so, would it benefit to value the practice lower?
No, you should just be doing your personal finances on this one. You are going to include now. You being the owner of your practice are going to have things like mortgage and practice loans and whatnot. But I don't know that first and foremost, stepping back, fill that out as honestly and above board as you can. They know you're in trying times. This is really something that they're going to be able to attest as to the accuracy of the information for better lack of better words. But just again, fill it out the best way you can. But don't try to decipher what they're getting at. They really want you to just honestly fill out what your assets and liabilities are. And yes, you should naturally include your practice loans and other obligations that you're going to have over the next months.
Fantastic. Okay. If the business has an existing line of credit. Hey guys, if you have an existing line of credit, I'm going to say it again, it does not keep you from getting this loan. It's a totally separate entity. Another question, I am a co-owner of multiple practices. Do both co-owners of each corporation need to submit? I'm going to say yes.
You need at minimum need to submit your personal financials, but you can probably stick with one entity, but you're going to put ownership in your first Form 5 anyway. And so that's probably where you can apply together.
All right. So where do you go to find out the status? I'm actually guessing he doesn't know that yet. Do you?
Yep. You guys let me know. This is where I can't apply.
He says, I'm afraid it's just going into a black hole when you click submit. And it may be, man, but if yours is, everyone else is too. And once they get that fixed, obviously you'll have to reapply. Can you explain the gross revenue and cost of goods sold again on EIDL supporting form? Guys, cost of goods sold is simply everything that goes into producing a product. If you are, and I'm going to go really obnoxious on this because I want you to understand what all it includes, which means it needs to really be an estimate. If you're doing a class 2 filling, it includes the assistant's time. It includes the $15 to turn around the room. It includes the however many grams of composite that gets stuffed into the filling. It includes the burrs. I don't believe it includes wear and tear and depreciation of equipment. I believe that goes into overhead, as do lights and other things like that. But that's pretty much everything it includes. Does it include my mask? Yes. Does it include my gown? Yes. Does it include, I don't know, whatever else. But yes, if you're using it and you only use it to do that one filling and then it's disposed of, that is part of the cost of goods sold for that product, as is the labor of the people working on it. Is that pretty well done? Is that correct?
Well put. Yep, exactly.
So let's see here. No, I'm not going to explain cost of goods sold again. I'm really not. You go watch the video. Okay. Which form am I talking about right now? Cost of goods sold and gross revenue. I believe, was that the first form we looked at? Was that the 5C or was that the, which one was that?
That would have been, well, I just moved it out. Trying to see where they're requesting the COGS, if it's in your personal financials or. Oh, let's see. Must be in 202 because I don't see it in Form 5.
Okay. So it's evidently it's in Form 202. Someone here says, hey man, your cost of goods sold is on your business tax return. I was unaware of that because I have Jackson and people like that do my taxes. So, well, not specifically Jackson. Let's see here. And 4506T for both business and personal. I believe that we said that. Oh, yes. Okay, good. My apologies. I thought that was just personal. So I'm glad you asked that.
It is just personal, but go ahead and I would go ahead. This is one of theirs where I would prepare to do the entity one as well.
All right. So cross your T's and dot your I's. Okay. So does the practice rent go into the schedule of liabilities? I would think so. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's a section for mortgage
liability. And so in honesty, a lot of us think of our practices as an asset, but if you owe money on your practice, it's a liability. So just remember, if you're paying something out, it's a liability. Let's see here. if you provide your associates 1099s, can they still apply for this loan? That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
I will come back with a straight answer. We've researched that. Let me come back to you.
Okay. Where is the link to all these forms? Those are actually on the disaster loan SBA thing. We're going to actually get a document from Jackson. He's actually done all the homework and gone step by step and listed it all out in here. So I will supply all of that to you guys later. Okay, and all right, folks, the questions look like they're starting to trickle down, and Jackson is here on a Sunday. So if you have any further questions, please go ahead and get those knocked out real quick. And Kevin Priest, yes, you did understand that correctly. You can get both the EIDL and the 7A. Let me give you a real quick synopsis, and Jackson will correct me if I'm wrong here. Okay, so what's going to happen is you're going to apply for the EIDL right now. When you apply for the EIDL within 3 days, they will send you $10,000. That $10,000 is part of the EIDL. Whenever you finish getting the application processed, they will send you back another form that will ask how much money you want. You can at that point say, I only want the $10,000, in which case the $10,000 becomes a grant. You can say, I want $100,000 or whatever it is, in which case that becomes a loan at 3.75%. minus the $10,000, which stays as a grant. So you owe nothing on that one. Whenever the 7A becomes available, you may petition to roll the EIDL into the 7A, in which case it too becomes forgivable if and only if you keep 100% of your employees. If, however, you don't keep 100% of your employees, you're shut out of luck. When you roll the EIDL into the 7A, it goes up to a 4% interest rate from a 3.75. So you get a 0.25 jump in your interest rate on that one. However, that is what makes it forgivable. So far as the SBA 7A goes, it is limited to, I believe, 2.5 times your operating costs or something like that. Is that correct, Jackson? Is it 2.5 or 2.0?
It's 2.5 of your average trailing 12 monthly payroll, including benefits. Okay.
So 2.5 times your average trailing 12 monthly payroll, including benefits. If you decide to take out a bigger EIDL than that, that's when you get into trouble, because that portion will not be able to be rolled in, and it is possible none of the loan will be able to be rolled in if you take out a bigger loan than the 7A will account for. I hope that covers everything so you guys get it. Jackson, did I misspeak there at all?
Yeah, I mean, you don't need me. You got it.
No, I need you. I hate filling out this. Okay, so let's see. Anything else here? Is filling out the disaster loan just uploading the 2-page application to the site, or do you have to call the bank? The 7A is the one you have to call the bank for. You do not have to call the bank for the EIDL. All right, so let's see here. Oh, by the way, my hometown bank is processing these loans. I'm getting all the information Monday. I will post everything you need to have for that. Full disclosure, I own part of that bank, so I will make some money at some point in the nebulous future when they sell. Let's see here. Wells Fargo, yes. The problem with bigger banks like Wells Fargo and Chase is it's kind of like turning a battleship. It's a slow process. All right, Form 5, Form 4506T, SBA 2502. Not sure about that one. 2502?
25, you got 202, which is listing your creditors. You got 413, which is your personal financials. 4506 is your tax, and then Form 5 is your application loan.
This person's asking about 2502. You think maybe they meant 2202? I think probably so.
Let's see. There is a list of, there's a handful of other ones. I see the 2202. Yeah, I think they must be listing something else not related to the EIDL, because I don't see that on here.
So as a recap, folks, the forms you need are what? If you're applying just for the EIDL, because we're getting like 20 questions on just this. So
yeah, here we go.
What do you need?
Just for the EIDL, you need the business loan application, which is Form 5. You need the 4506, which is your tax request, the tax return request. You need the 2202, which is your which is your creditor listing. And then you need the 413 D, which is your personal financial statements.
Okay, guys, you got it right there. Form 5, Form 4506, Form 2202, Form 413D, all must be filled out and uploaded. Can we apply with banks from other states? That is the 7A. We're only going to be covering the EIDL today, but we will be coming back on as soon as more information is available on the 7A. I promise you guys. Here's the reason. These things are still up to change. I want to make sure that every bit of information you get here on the business of dentistry is accurate to the best of my ability. Okay, folks? If you fill out something incorrectly, can you change it later? Yes. They're gonna call you and say, hey, there's a question here, or they might even just give you the money and worry about it later. They're very motivated to get this money out as quickly as possible. All right. Which other banks are participating in the PPP? We're not going to cover that. Sole proprietor, or can a sole proprietor apply, or only an S corp? If your sole proprietorship is not protected by an LLC or a PLLC, you cannot apply if you're just doing a DBA from your name. What about the form P109? Not sure on that one. Jackson?
There's supporting information on the P019. I'm not too familiar with what other documents they need, but you shouldn't need it to fill out your form. So if you pull it up, was the business in operation 1 year prior to the disaster, and then that's where it does bring up your gross revenues and COGS. So that supporting information, I'm sure, will be helpful. It looks like it's three fields. So there you go.
It's P019, she says.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so why does the SBA site ask for 2 forms only, and then it says they may request other forms? I would fill out all 4 of these forms and send them in.
Yeah. Get them in the spirit of not to contradict and say don't overshare. Go ahead and do the 4 forms that they have, because they're all downloadable, and make sure
if you're taxed as a sole proprietor under an LLC, do you fill out form 5 or 5C?
Oh shoot! I think I hit stop share. Repeat the question again.
If you fill out, if you're taxed as a sole proprietor, but you are an LLC, you fill out form 5 or 5C. I believe they're just talking about a tax treatment as a pass through.
Yeah, if you're a sole proprietor, it is the 5C. But if you're taxed as an LLC, go ahead and do form 5 and mark LLC.
Fantastic. Melissa,
Yeah,
no, I did not say that you cannot fill one out for an S corp. I said that you can't fill it out if you are a sole proprietor that is just a DBA on your name, or at least that's the latest I heard. Jackson, do you have anything that contradicts that?
Nothing to contradict it. I still agree.
All right. Our office has 2 companies, a PLLC and an LLC. Why would you do that instead of an S corp and a C corp? All right. So should we be submitting 2 applications for 1 office? If those 2 entities are for 2 different doctors, or if one entity is for real estate and or leasehold with your equipment, and the other is what you practice under, then absolutely, you're losing rental income from one of those businesses, and you're losing income from the other business. So yes, you file for both. All right, so where will we be posting the document? I'm not going to tell you, Linda. No, I'm just joking. I'm going to post it here on TBOD, and I'm going to make it, in big bold letters that this is what the document is for. It won't be under this video though, because Facebook won't allow me to do that. If you message me, I will tag you in it. Okay, so I thought that if you're a sole proprietor, you said both apps need to be filled out. Okay, so there's a difference between being a sole proprietor DBA and being a sole proprietor who is an LLC. Jackson, can you explain that?
Not too much more, except that I feel like your form 5 is, if you're acting as a partnership LLC corp, you want to fill out form 5, and then if you're just a true sole proprietor, no nuance, you do the 5C. This would be more of a tax related question after that. The nuances are probably better answered by someone in the tax side.
Right. So the major difference in what I was saying, and I could be incorrect, but this is the most recent information I have, is if you are just a DBA, in other words, you're just practicing under your name, okay? You've got a business license and you're doing business as, okay? In that case, you are a sole proprietor DBA. If you are a sole proprietor, in other words, you're the only owner, but it's an LLC, that's a different thing. It's a different tax treatment. It's a different liability treatment. And I could be talking out of my rear end right now, but that's the way it was explained to me by my lawyer and by my CPA. And Jackson, please, if I'm talking about out of my butt, please correct me, because I don't want to give anyone.
I just opened up 5C as well, because you really got to wonder, like, what are they asking differently? And the forms and fields are almost the same. So this just goes back to, I don't feel like these are the times where they're going to put foot on throat.
I believe what he's saying is, if you're a sole proprietor and you're a DBA, fill it out anyway. But Jackson didn't say that specifically. He just pointed out it doesn't ask about your entity. So guys, take the chance. Worst case scenario, they come back and say, give me my $10,000 back. Okay? So go ahead and fill it out. And if you do actually get the money and they don't say anything about it, let us know, because that'll let me know what I can tell other people. CPAs didn't know. Thank you for the clarification. No, I'm practicing under an LLC. Okay, good. Excellent. All right, fantastic. In that case, we gave you the right information. Guys, I think that the questions are kind of wrapping up here. Thank you so much for joining us here on a Sunday afternoon. And Jackson, thank you for taking time away from your wife and your kids. I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. You're doing a heck of a service for people here. So thank you.
You bet. I hope it was helpful. I'm happy to.
Fantastic. And now you know a secret about me.
Oh yeah, I did. I'd never seen him without his hat off. So we started. He's got long hair. There you go.
You just told everyone my secret, dude. Anyway, guys, you have a fantastic day, and we will talk later. And thanks for hanging out with us. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Hey, folks. I just want to make a quick correction. Earlier in the live, I made a comment that if you are a DBA without an LLC, S Corp, or C Corp, you can't file. Now, that was not correct. I did find out that the Form 5C will allow you to file as either a homeowner who's unemployed or as a DBA. And the reason for the mistake was I misheard something someone said, I guess. I just wanted to apologize to you guys for the inaccuracy and to correct that. Have a fantastic day, and I hope the rest of your Sunday goes great.
Thanks for listening to the Dear Doc podcast, your source for the business and legal questions associated with your dental practice. Don't forget to subscribe to the Dear Doc podcast on all major platforms.